to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Good evening. The meeting is now called to order. I am Darrell Pope, Chairman of the Township Planning Commission. Also present this evening is Jansen Herr, to my far left, and Randy Patterson. To my right is Sarah Hitchen, Assistant Township Manager, Lee Ovitz on the keyboard, and Ralph Hutchinson, Township Manager. And are there nobody zooming in? So we presently just the folks that are present here in the meeting room this evening. With that said, first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. If you will begin to join us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the States, nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Is approval of the minutes of the October 8th planning commission. Read those. Do we have any comments, questions?
Just a couple of changes I saw on page 3. My last name is incorrect in there, and then continuing on down, it looks like there's a 0 missing at 32 square feet. We'll line up in the end from the bottom. Those are all the comments I have.
2000. Okay. After that, you had something? Randy and
No.
one of them kind of housekeeping on page 4. At the bottom, D, and the second line, Greenland should be Greenfield. In the 2 places. And there are no other changes. Any meeting minutes from October 8th.
Move their approval.
Do I have a second? A second. All those in favor? Unanimous by the 3 members present. Next item on the agenda is old business, none. So we will move on to new business. First item under new business is Plan 2024-19 Omar Smucker 2008 Horseshoe Road Land Development Plan.
Good evening, everyone. Mac to Mac with Mac Engineering. Quick overview. This is for Lancaster Parts. The business has been there since 1968, roughly. We're looking to actually demo a couple buildings or convert them over just to storage and then put up a new machine shop. The project utilizes an existing driveway that goes out to Horseshoe Road. Right away that are able to be owned by homeowners. The services will be on-lot sanitary and on-lot water. There is no increase in employees. Basically, the employees that are in that building are gonna go up to the first floor of the building. This facility is not really utilized for public, so nobody's coming in there to shop for machine parts. It's just for the workers that are there. We received the second review from David Miller Associates from Scott. The letter's fairly clean. There's some outside agency stuff for DEP approvals, coordination with your township SEO. We do have some waivers that I need to go over with the planning commission.
Say the second, you're talking about the November 12th letter.
Yeah, this is our second review. So stop reviews. We do have two additional ones. Before I start though, is there any questions you guys have with regards to the plan? So the operation is currently again, ag support use, and then he's also farming the facility. As part of this, for stormwater, we're gonna have a detention basin, and then we're also utilizing what's called a riparian buffer to meet the water quality and volume requirements. There's an existing channel that runs through the property. The additional riparian buffers will be placed within the existing floodplain. As you can see, the hatched area there is the additional flood riparian buffer we're installing to meet the NPDS requirements and also for the township requirements. This is a supported by DEP a lot. They like to see this over the convention with works out there, limestone. So this prevents any kind of infiltration and utilizes more trees. So if you guys are ready, I have 5 waivers I'd like to go over with you guys. First one is section 368-303. This one Scott did support. It allows the plan to go as preliminary and final. There's no public improvements we're proposing. Everything's on lot. Again, it's increasing there to 68. The next one is section 368-516. This is not to require a traffic impact study. Again, Scott supports that one also. There's no increase in traffic leaving the site. The next one we actually clarified in the letter that you have there. We just had 368-505. Scott requested that we add the C to it. This is not to require a sidewalk around the building. So again, it's just the 6 or 7 employees that are going to be there. There's not the public coming in, so there's really the last number 4 and 5 are new for waiver requests. They are identified in Scott's review. So section 368-503A11 and 368-503G1. This is with regards to Horseshoe Road. So again, this property has an existing 50-foot right-of-way that goes out to Horseshoe Road in the top of the map there. The ordinance requests that the 60-foot right-of-way, 30-foot we would be required on our one side. 30-foot wide probably would be responsible for half an 8-inch curb, a 5-foot sidewalk, and a 2-foot grass strip. So currently what's out there today is a 50-foot right-of-way with a 22-foot right-of-way. Now I brought a picture of what it looks like out there. This is a PennDOT. So to do the additional right of way, we'd be into the houses, though not in front of our plot, but if they ever wanted to expand. And you can see that the existing driveway is super wide. It's like 40-some feet wide. So turning movements aren't really an issue coming in and out. There is a nice wide shoulder along there if people do want to walk. But again, we only have 50 feet of frontage along our property. So it'd be crazy to put sidewalk and widening along a road that has existing line of houses along the entire frontage there. So we're looking for support on that one. Then the last one is section 368-504A. This is required to have curb in 2 places. along Horseshoe Row on our side. Again, this has drainage along that sheet flows off right now into the grass swales along the edge of the road. It also requires curbing for the new parking lot. So we did provide curbing within our islands for the plan. If we can flip to the actual next. Yeah. So you propose curbing for our islands for your zoning on the property, but the way we designed the storm on the sheet flows off and gets into that little circle there, which is the base. So to actually put curbing in there, there's no curbing anywhere else. This is more of an access point business anywhere on the developed sites. And that would constitute actually concentrating, which would defeat the purpose of having a large grass filter coming off the actual park. So those are the 5 waivers we're reading. If you guys have any questions with regard to any one of those.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you go back to the request for Bushy Road? So comments from DM from Bill are related to the street itself, you mentioned sidewalk. Yeah. I won't see the waiver request for
It's contained within that number 4. So that waiver actually is for the right of way, the cartway, vertical curb, and a 5-foot sidewalk with a 2-foot grass strip. So that's what they're requiring along the entire frontage of Horseshoe Road on our side.
okay, so your request is to waive any improvement over.
Correct, yep. There's an existing large shoulder out there today, and then with the houses lining along there, it makes it very difficult to widen it. And it's also 10 of them.
Multiple sections there. Each for the road widening, then there's another for the sidewalks, another for the curbing. Another for the sidewalks.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, he had,
have it. Yeah,
yeah, in his comment, he had them all contained in the one, those 2 sections I denoted in the review. It's number 6 on page 4, I believe.
yeah, 6 is on the existing streets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, this one's technically, so what happens, this is actually 2 properties here. The large property is where the development's happening, but there's a smaller property that comes down in here. It's this long skinny piece. That's where the residential house is. That's where we have a shared easement we're proposing to get out. So technically, the house is part of this only for the access to get out. So there's the lot 1, we'll call it, is technically the piece of property that has frontage on the road, not lot 2 that we're developing. But it's all tied together because of accessibility to get out. The rest of the review, I believe, is will comply. I didn't really have anything in there. That was a couple of notes and again, some outside agencies.
so quite often we look at separating the existing road, in this case Horseshoe Road, and how we deal with that and how we deal with sidewalks, curbing, et cetera, within the site and parking areas. And we'll see how the motion goes, but typically we look at not a waiver, but a deferral for the improvements for Horseshoe Road. And potentially a discussion we may have about a waiver for sidewalks and parking, or sidewalks with the parking on the site. So, and I think that's somewhat where the consultant was looking at clarification of getting clarity on the specific request. Well, so now we'll see the request.
Yep. So we're okay with a deferral. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. So if it ever gets developed in the future and the township asks for it, then we can do that.
And it's potentially possible. The high school is very close. If you've ever driven it after school, I've on numerous occasions have seen people walking.
And that makes perfect sense.
50-mile-an-hour roadway. I'm not sure if I don't have kids in school anymore, but I want my kid walking on that. with 50 miles an hour, which, and when it's posted 50, nothing but 50.
But that makes sense, because again, we only have 50 feet, but in the future, if people go, then we can do it all at one time. Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Same for curbs, like on horseshoe. Is generally what we look at is the deferral.
Yep, we can add the appropriate notes and put into the agreements.
Matthew, generally, along with that, we ask that the site plan include where that would be on the frontage. Okay.
And that's a 4-foot wide, 5-foot wide sidewalk.
At that, with the driveway, you're talking about that, Butcher Road, is there a beautiful?
Yeah, right on that corner.
So,
Yeah. Now, the driveway itself is like 44 feet wide, and then it butts out, but yeah, there's one right there. Yep. So if that, if it's okay with the board, will shoot it around the pole, because then we'll put it in an easement that would call that.
The other is when we get to the parking. You have 2 islands in the parking, right? And that, those you're saying will both be curved.
Yeah, they're required per your zoning ordinance.
And then there'll be any curving on the site.
Yeah, we didn't want to put that even in, but we can keep this here.
No site.
Not anywhere on the site, no. We looked at it and we said if there was people coming there, it would be more a use, but because it's just gonna be the couple 6 employees there, and they're gonna be moving around with forklifts and everything else on site, sidewalk, it really makes sense.
So is the entrance to the building on the same side as the parking?
Yeah,
And then it looks like your paving is all the way up to the building.
yeah, this is existing paving right along here. And then this is all new stuff coming around here. So that's the parking area that has a couple parking spaces. There's some loading doors here. And then this is just to get access around the building. That'll all be paved or stone, paving everywhere.
And since the building will be entirely surrounded by pavement.
Yeah.
Up to the foundation.
Yeah, right up to the door.
Is there any need for? You have a storage building, you have other buildings on site. Will the people on site be going between buildings?
They do currently, so there's an existing building that's down here that they're actually demoing, and this is gonna be converted over to a livestock to keep his animals in. So currently they walk from this building down there and back, for the last since 1968. So today, the people won't actually be going down here, it'll be more of here to here.
And
And
it's,
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, and
well, I
the owner's actually here also.
the obvious question really is there a need for pavement walkways where those people will be
They'll be paving
using the site?
one building the other. This whole area is paved. Yep, from here, this is all existing concrete and paving. This whole area is paved. And then all the way down to here will be paved, and this is all existing stone or paving. Whatever's gravel will actually be paved. So the whole intent is to make the site look really nice when everything's done. Take the stuff that's outside, put it in the storage buildings, and clean up the site.
Yeah, your demolition is quite a bit of demolition of building and existing.
We have a very slight increase in impervious, even though the building is very fine.
review, then there will be sufficient case for the building without going on unpaid. Correct.
Yeah,
Into what kind of waivers or deferrals we may need.
gotcha, no problem.
Move forward. Okay, and I think that's some of what engineer Dave Miller Associates was looking for clarity at that specific level.
Yeah, when I wrote the original waiver, I missed that section. I believe my response wasn't clear to him. And then after getting the second review, it cleared up what he was actually looking for.
The driveway that leads from Horseshoe Road back to the business, how many properties are benefited by that driveway?
So with the garage at the end of the drive, that would be one, then two on back, so three, four. Then where I live would be five, and then the business would be six.
And what is the width of that driveway?
It's like 44 feet wide.
The entire way from Horseshoe Road?
Most of it. He's got a permit actually from the township to widen it further down that he secured maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So he'll be widening that driveway further down there also.
And that's part of this plan?
No, that was approved under a prior plan with the township. I didn't do it, impacted it. How long ago was that?
2 years ago, we're still waiting on pool movement, which pool movement got pushed back because of this project.
Okay, could you clarify exactly where you're talking about?
I believe that one we need property.
So I have a permit to widen. Yeah. From here to here, if I have it right. That's where I am permitted to widen my drive, another 9 feet.
Rob, I believe from there up, I believe it's 44 feet wide.
Is it paved surface?
Yeah. I have a picture, you can see it.
And then that's 9 feet, we'll take it to the city width as this segment is close to the 40. Yeah,
No, so it would add another 10 feet wide, if I have it right.
and what's the existing width of that area?
What is it, 10 feet now?
And
So the entrance is like 44 feet, and then it comes down to a 10 foot, but the goal is to have it at least 18, 20 foot wide, which is done.
That's not exactly what I heard.
But he was mentioning the opening was 44 feet.
Yeah, from
The
that,
opening is 44 feet.
I believe it's labeled on our plan.
It says 40, plus or minus 43 feet. At close to Horseshoe Road.
On one of the plans, it's labeled, where is the plan, right there's a label of what is existing and then up there. But I believe it's 44 feet from the house to the road.
And it looks like it reduces to 10 foot.
Yeah, as you get past that house in the middle, then it narrows down.
Right.
Which again, he has a permit from the township that he secured a couple of years ago to widen it from there on.
then it narrows down now to 10 feet or 20 feet?
10 feet.
And then he's gonna widen it another 10.
It's 9, 10 feet wide now, something like that.
Are there any review comments related to that being a private street and meeting the requirements of the ordinance?
No, the only comment that was in the review was with regards to the easement, having an access easement on there. That, because again, we're lot number 2, that's lot 1 we're talking about now going out. So DMA had a comment about having some kind of easement document that in case lot 1 ever sells, that lot 2 still has access. Yeah.
Yes, I'm curious why there weren't comments about it being a private street. It benefits multiple properties and
Yeah.
for emergency service access and other needs, truck traffic in and out of there.
And we did get reviews back from emergency services. Anthony has those. I don't believe there was any concerns with those.
No, there's no concerns. I reached out to Leslie, to build that, Gary Schramm, I guess, and he gave me a letter that, the access looks sufficient, to bring our copies, but. I did reach out to Chief Kramer from Whitney Fire Company, and, he said he was gonna go out and visit the site, and he has not gotten back to me yet. It was 2 weeks ago, so.
If you widen that, we have to move electrical wires.
That's what he said. That's what I think he's waiting for, the electric poles that run down through there.
Yeah.
Waiting for them to be moved before you actually do the work.
We've already got deposited with Verizon to move them, but with some of the changes we made back there, they're holding off.
Just from a funding standpoint, I mean, you're gonna have folks in there paving, it'd be probably economical to do all this at once. Is that even feasible? I mean,
That's why he called on doing this.
discussion, there are multiple properties being served by this kind of thing. So requirements seem to be a little stronger, and I guess you get heavy equipment in, so cross-section the paving test, so it's not damaged, by too heavy equipment.
We have on the plan, at least the plan that we did, we have a heavier pavement spec across our area where the trucks will be. But we can talk to Omar about increasing, like you said, since the paving crews are gonna be out there, it would make sense to all one time.
So have you had any contact from fire related to access? This is EMS.
They're asking, did you have any contact with fire company?
I reached out to Chief Kramer and he responded that he was gonna go visit the site. This was 2 weeks ago. I have not heard back from him yet, so.
And also the police.
I have a phone call with the chief of police and it's not heard back from him.
Only more on the waivers. Well, they can't come back if something comes up, but. Oh, review like this. Five, under his own. I don't think it doesn't have any.
Yeah, to the window, and then just additional escrow for him to relocate some of his equipment outside of the right of way now, which we're fine with.
And the subdivision land development. I'm still confused in both letters about the third time regarding the permanent monuments for the markings.
Yeah, what
Property.
I believe what that is on the plan I have to be set, pins to be set. He wants the wording to be set so that when we record them, that the monuments are actually set.
Part of the comment says that in the previous plan, it said they were all set. So are they?
They're talking about a prior record plan. We went out there, we didn't see the ones that were set. So they may have gone with the farming operation, they may have gotten moved or kicked. So we have them denoted to actually be set now. We'll be putting an escrow, we'll put the escrow in, it will include those monuments to ensure that they're set then, so.
Okay. So they may have been previously set, but you're saying they may have
Yeah,
been lost through farming activity.
yeah. So the plans that we have, we denote the ones that we found, the surveyor stock, because we have a different surveyor ceiling to the boundary. And then any ones that they didn't find, they're like, we didn't see it here. So then we just say, okay, monument to DSAT or pin to DSAT. And then we'll ask for those.
Some clarity needed there.
Yeah, it's a no change.
Item 2 is typical street cross sections.
Yeah, that's for Horseshoe. So what we'll do, I was thinking that while you guys were talking, we'll throw the cross section on for Horseshoe. And we'll show the location of the proposed curb and future sidewalk as part of the deferral to address that one.
Item is the proper number of parking spaces.
So that one's regards to lot one. So in the letter, when he references lot one, it's not the lot we're working on, it's the other lot. You can go back one plan. Back to the other one. Yep. Lot one is this lot. So he has an existing house on here, and then he has some existing storage on that facility. So I think where Scott's saying is, hey, man, if this lot is actually not just an agricultural lot, and it has something to do with the business, show that you have proper parking for it. Again, I don't think there's an intense use on the house site for any of your business, is there? No. So there's adequate paving there. We can stripe a space or two for the house to show what it is.
Part of that is saying what to clarify the
You know, what is,
response would be.
yeah.
And,
Yeah, we'll deal with the SEO. So we had DEP out to the site and all, because we're not increasing the employees. No, they told us no planning will be required. We'll just get an email from them.
security, what you figure out. The next are existing streets, Horseshoe. I think we've talked about that. I think it's well,
Waiving some, but preferring others. Yeah.
should be about the plots. And if I understood you, you would be willing to and will do about delineation on the union.
Yeah, we'll show it on the cross section and also show it on the plan location. And we'll take the sidewalk and locate it around that existing pole.
The next is curves. So big part. You're looking for waiver then. So clarification will be needed as what you're asking deferral, what you're asking waiver for.
Yeah.
Between Horseshoe Roads and interior of the property. And the parking areas. Sidewalks, again. Issue. Land development plans shall be required to be submitted for review by fire department, police. I think we just talked about that. So they're specifically listed here, the ones that you need to obtain. That's an item under subdivision land development. Any. One comment under sewer. Approval. The sewage enforcement officer.
We had probes on the adjoining property, so we'll put an easement on that.
Easements would be needed. pick on what, three, four comment. You talked about that a little bit, that you have that area and the woodlands, et cetera, but they need to be delineated with meets and bounds.
Yeah, we should throw a line on there. We're actually putting the meets and bounds, so we've made sure Scott was okay with it. Appears he's okay with it now, so we'll label up the meets and bounds.
And then agreements go with that.
Yeah.
And just for protection of the, from my side, from the township, in the event that you don't maintain it, the township can come in and specifically know the area that they can be on to address any remediation that might be needed that's not being maintained, which should never happen, but you know, that agreement along with specific meets and bounds delineation is important.
Question for, maybe it's for staff, does the township solicitor prepare those agreements, or do we have to have our solicitor, our attorney prepare?
You need to have your attorney.
And you guys will review.
And then we'll review it. Well, solicitor will review. I won't, but yeah. And anything more on the table? Have you submitted the plans to the county
I
for?
believe so. I didn't ever, thought Scott had a chance to go back and check. I believe they were, Colin's not here anymore, so we had Colin sign the paper and he was supposed to forward it on. So I assume that happened. I'm not sure.
I did contact Lancaster County Planning Commission. I'm waiting for a return call.
Generally, we have that as part of discussion and any motion we may make. And comments they made. We don't have.
You can still,
We
if
have,
you chose to condition it upon the receipt of that.
absolutely have to have that before you move forward. And then or from this side.
It is working with the township with the riparian buffer and has indicated a larger riparian buffer than is necessary for their NPDES or chapter 102 requirements. And the additional riparian buffer will be used as a credit for the applicant towards the stormwater fee, as well as a credit towards the MS4 program for the township. So we appreciate those efforts.
Thank you. In the audience? Any comments or questions in reference to this plan?
I do think, my name is Anthony Saflias. I do think based off of the amount.
Can you identify yourself and?
Anthony Saflias. I'm an East Lampeter resident. I'm born and raised with the Conestoga Valley Chris Elementary. I do think it would be plausible to review and see what kind of tax the company would be paying towards the township and the state. See if we would want to pitch in and supply something for a walk path. That's just something I think we should keep in mind for the future. I understand you said it's a 45 mile per hour. And I understand the safety, but just an idea of the future.
Along Horseshoe Road.
And that's in part why we look at not a waiver, but deferral, that when a comprehensive effort can happen, that they would have to participate in that at the time. The total burden would be the taxpayers, but would be assisted through those landowners.
Of course, understood. From the private business, I wouldn't go say as a resident, because I'm here to do that. That's why, my idea was to review based off of, say, the amount of money that their company would contribute to taxpayers. If it was feasible to supply the folks.
Thank you. Comments? Guess the question for, what's your timeline? What's your moving forward plan? How soon?
As far as putting up the building,
As far as, yeah, doing any of the activity, the demolition, the building, any of that? That
So-
proposed as part of this submission.
yeah, so we're getting all the costs together on the building, and I'm hoping if costs come within my budget, I can move on it next year. If we come in within budget.
That helps us in part that you're not looking to go to construction in a month or so. There are a number of things outstanding here, whether the reviews, the emergency facilities, the sewage enforcement officer, clarification of things, obviously the waivers, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know if I'm quite ready to recommend moving it forward. We'll see when we get a motion, but if we were to table it this evening and have you go back and clarify these things, we get the county review, we get another review by our engineer. It could clean up a lot of these things, may put us all in a better position to move forward. We'll leave a lot of things unanswered to move to the supervisors.
We do this then, would you guys be okay that we wouldn't move it forward to the supervisors until staff's okay with it? Then we're not having to come back. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to make the meeting next month, with conflicts. But if we'd agreed that we wouldn't move it onto the supervisors until staff's okay with it, it would give you guys comfort that your staff has looked at it, everything looks good, and then I'll have to come back here again.
I think the only concern with that is it's the planning commission's recommendation to the board of supervisors to approve or not approve of land development plan. It's not the staff's recommendation. So I'm having the ability to re-review the missing information that's here.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure I'm willing to make that leap. Supportive of the project, just to be clear about that.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of at a point now where I don't think I have enough information, enough clarity, let's put it that way, of what's being asked and what's being done to make a motion for me tonight to move forward.
Same, I think it was the same.
So what about the waivers? Can we act on those at least?
Well, so some of the waivers are what the review letter is still asking for additional information and clarification about.
Could we get a sense that, how about this? I just want to try to make this meeting productive for us. With regards to what we discussed tonight, with regards to the waivers, the preliminary, we have support. I don't want you to act on it, so I understand if I have support of that. So, because when I'm making these revisions, if you don't support it, then I have to make the revisions to the plan.
You're talking about not having to file a preliminary, but filing just a.
Yeah. Yeah, the preliminary one, the traffic impact, your engineer supported both of those. The sidewalk at the building, I think we're all okay with that one, and we'll show the deferral in the roadway. The curb and the sidewalk out at Horseshoe Road, we're doing a deferral there. We're not showing any curbing on the site itself. Okay.
I mean, the letter you gave us this evening requesting those additional waiver deferrals, waivers in this letter. In my case, I think the first three look okay. For the preliminary and fine submitting a plan, which would be a preliminary final plan to be identified as such. And as you know, you have to meet all the preliminary requirements as part of one submission. So it doesn't eliminate those, you still have to meet all those as well as define them in one
Yeah.
way.
We provided all that. This is just to do the one step.
The traffic impact, I think we can concur with the SALT recommendation. It's not necessary based on what you told us. There will be no increase in staff, employees. You're eliminating some buildings and putting a new building up, so the activity, traffic-wise, will be the same, or not identical, but the same, I mean.
So,
And then the sidewalks at the building, I don't have an issue. I don't know what. It's just clarity on Horseshoe Road deferrals versus waivers on site, so. I think we discussed that. I think
I think if we're all in concessions with that, I think I have a clear path to move it forward and get it cleaned up for you guys.
So that's a consensus that we agree with those three. It's not,
Yes.
it's not an approval of those three.
No,
because you-
no, we still have to take act on them,
Just-
yeah,
Just want to be clear.
yeah.
So gentlemen, just so I'm clear, if you are generally in agreement with those, then that eliminates comment 8, 7, and 6. They have been addressed through the waiver and or deferral.
The sidewalk we're talking about is at the building, not,
Talking about both.
yeah, but I think what you were asking about is the sidewalk at the building or the sidewalk at Horseshoe?
Both during the meetings, Larry.
Okay.
well, number 3 in your request is for sidewalk
Building.
only. And not require sidewalk at and around. the
Yeah, if you read,
And what's of this evening.
if you read number 8, it says sidewalks will be provided along all proposed streets and parking compounds. It doesn't say existing. That's why I just left it at, my number 3 is for number 8. Now, my number 4 is for along the street. See number 8 in DMAs, it's page 5, number 8.
Mhm.
That section there is not for the actual existing road. That is just for the parking compound. But my number 4 is for the existing street that we discussed and doing the deferral.
Thanks. For me, that's sort of my confusion here, where you're asking for what.
Yeah, like at the end of his comment, he's only saying the proposed parking compound. He doesn't reference any streets. So I believe my waiver letter is correct, minus putting in the deferral for number 4 and number 5.
Some of our consultants clarity and his response because of a lack of clarity in the submission. They were trying to ask what they think needed to be asked, but didn't have the specifics to be specific. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I believe number 8 is for the parking compound. I do believe that. The other one,
Well, number 8 in their letter, I mean, the first sidewalk shall be provided along all proposed streets and parking.
correct, we don't have any proposed streets.
Okay.
So at the end of his letter, at the end of the letter, at the comment, it says there are no proposed sidewalks along the proposed parking compound.
So does this go back to the issue of lot 1 and lot 2? Yeah, it's not, lot 2 is the one that fronts on Horseshoe Road. Correct?
I'm sorry, say that again. Lot 1.
Lot 1.
Lot 1 fronts on Horseshoe Road.
And lot 1 is where the development is occurring. Okay.
2 is for the developments. There's parking that is needed on lot 1. That's part of the paved area of lot 2. And then there's an easement for the sewer or septic on lot 1 for the benefit of lot 2.
lots 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Easements for 5 entities that share that roadway. The business right out of Horseshoe.
I know there was at least 2. The farm all the way back, I don't think is.
Out of the 6, only 2 have easements to use that driveway.
If memory serves me right, I know the farm had their right of way coming out by the cell phone tower, which that got closed off way back, and they just used ours. But I don't think there's anything in an agreement.
So, private street versus.
Yeah. May need some more clarity in that area as well.
I'm okay with that. I mean, we acted on, you gave me direction on the waivers, and I think I have enough to go back to clean the plan up. I think we're fine.
Okay.
Again, I was just looking to make sure there was everybody was in agreement they liked the plan tonight so that we can move forward with pricing. And then we'll follow up with the emergency management people and get that verified.
Time constraint.
Yes.
December,
Yeah.
sometime in the middle of December.
It'll need to go to at least the December 2nd meeting.
We'll need a time extension over. Get it to town.
That's if we approve it this evening.
That's if you table it this evening.
You understand that asking for the extension.
Yes, yes, we're willing to get a time extension in. So you guys want to make a motion to table it or we can move it on file.
That direction we go and you request it, then it's not approved. Then you start over.
We don't like that.
In simple words, yeah.
In general, we've never had major issues with the county planning department's review of a project.
No, yeah, they're advisory, so hopefully not.
Doing that without seeing their comments, is troublesome for me as well. Whether that's on us or not, I can't say, but,
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to table action on plan 2024-19 at 2008 Bushy Road, in order to give time to the applicant to clarify with DMA Associates issues outlined in their November 12th, 2024 letter, to address, if you have time to address this issue, private versus public street. Is the number of people who have access to that road, and not all of them have easements to that access. And come back at your earliest convenience to the commission.
Sounds good.
Motion. Do I have a second? Any discussion? I think just in part of that, someone we spoke to of the additional agreements may help clarify things, but sounds like we need a little additional clarification on what's occurring on lot 1 that's needed for lot 2, what's occurring on 2 as part of 1. All that can be, yeah. Also, with, reference to the previous plan, the road widenings, and I can continue to do that all as along with this work when it's done. If that's your intention, not meaning to put words in your mouth, but what is your plan for that work that was approved maybe 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I want to do, but the pools are in the way. We got to get the pools moved. That sort of backed off because of placement of the building.
And I may include that as part of your motion through the discussion. With that added, we have the motion in a second. Jansen? In favor, Rand in favor, to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item on the agenda is 2024-25 High Steel, 144 Greenfield Road sketch plan.
Project with our associates. I'm joined tonight by some representatives of High Steel. What I'd like to do is just provide a quick recap. You may recall we were here last month in October to talk about this project where we submitted an application as a sketch plan. Since that time, we have received a letter from your engineer, DMA, dated 2024. So again, very quickly, the plan that is up on the screen, the aerial shows the existing condition of the site. This is the High Steel operation, the industrial operation on the west side of Greenfield Road and the north side of Old Philadelphia Pike. It's about 42 acres in the I-2 general industrial zone, and there's a portion of it along Old Philadelphia Pike that is also within the C1 neighborhood commercial zone. However, you may recall from our last conversation, the project that is depicted on this sketch plan is specifically in the industrial zone. On the arrow you have up on the screen there, the white rectangle there, west side of the existing building, exactly right there, is the proposed expansion. That proposed expansion is about 21,000 square feet. It is proposed over existing impervious area on the property. And we submitted the sketch plan really just as your ordinance outlines. It's to try to understand what's involved with the project. Obviously, I was looking at making a significant investment in time and capital expenditure in the project. So we want to understand what steps would be necessary to move the project forward. One of the key things we had asked for in our sketch plan application is a waiver of preliminary plan. We outlined the reasons for that. Essentially, it would be the exact same thing if we filed a preliminary plan, it would be the same thing in the final plan. There is no subdivision proposed as part of the streets. So it is a rather small scope project. So that's why we had asked for the waiver of the preliminary plan application. We did, in the letter from DMA, get feedback from them recommending that actually granted. And then looking back, that's the reason why we're here this evening, looking back at the prior letter from DMA, they had talked about outlining other potential modifications that would be necessary or potentially applied to the project. So we've dug pretty deep into the ordinance, particularly for High Steel's benefit, to understand, okay, what might come up along the way with a land development plan. So we then revised a letter, sent that back to the township, and we outlined all those modifications that we believe may apply to the project. I will say the majority of them are really the existing condition of the site. It has nothing to do with proposed improvements, single expansion to the existing structure out there, with the exception of two. One is plantings, so that would be a proposed feature that would be built along the street, and then traffic impact study. With the traffic impact study, I can briefly say that as we've gone through the ordinance and we've done a preliminary analysis or assessment of the traffic that potentially might be generated by this use, it comes nowhere close to the threshold. The ordinance has a threshold of 100 new vehicle trips inbound and outbound, and we're estimating around 30. So we believe it may not even require the modification, but I think just to be safe, there's language in the ordinance about existing roadways and so forth, and how this project could potentially influence those existing roadways. Well, we believe confident that third generation analysis, which we'd be happy to provide during land development, would demonstrate that a traffic impact study is not necessary. So our goal this evening is to get action on, of course, the preliminary plan application, but also to give some sense of confidence in the project and the ability to move it forward.
the other modifications that we've outlined in the letter, which I'm happy to walk through those and talk those through if you have any questions about those.
30 new trips or 30 trips that are existing that will remain.
Double check. During less than 30 combined peak hour trips. So it'd be inbound and outbound. That's below the 100 new unit trip threshold identified in the ordinance in section 368 at 516A1.
Does the commission recall the reason this addition is needed? Okay.
We can talk through this. General sketch plan, we don't take any actions beyond the discussion. So we do have thoughts as to where our mind's at, in reference to it. Item in for the sketch plan, because you're planning to come back and say, preliminary final. Given the size of this project, I have no issue with doing preliminary final plan. I think that covers comments 1 and 2. Your letter revised October 17th. And Dave Miller's letter. The 3 zoning requirements.
That's great. Filling out the page for those.
Your parking generally, is that parking that's off of Old Killington Pike. For this facility. The 300 and whatever, some spaces you have up there, next to the storage units.
That's correct. That is correct.
The vehicular activity, as I see when I go by, is all work vehicles and not employee vehicles. And of course, the railroad tracks that go across the train that occasionally stops.
The only thing we would act on this evening is the final preliminary.
So in the past, there hasn't been a great number of sketch plans that have come through, quite honestly. And those that have, I can remember one more recently that was acted on for modifications, deferrals, or waivers. And that was across the street. So it's up to the planning commission. It's your prerogative whether or not you act on the requested waivers, modifications that are requested. Yes, letter dated revised October 17th.
Yeah, if I may.
We should do an official motion.
Good evening. For those of you I have not met, my name is Ken Hornbeck. I head up real estate development for High Real Estate Group. High Real Estate Group is a separate company, separate business, independent from High Steel Structures, but we both exist under the Hyde Company umbrella. So we like to help each other out when we can. But as Chris said, we are seeking action tonight on those waivers and modifications if the We understand you don't typically do so, but in this particular instance, as Chris mentioned, it would help us with our planning, and high steel planning, I should say, with their decision to move forward, and go through forming the preliminary and final land development, which is why this evening we would respectfully request that the planning commission consider acting on the few waivers and modifications we have outlined in the letter.
Subdivision development. Just saying what you're asking, what you just expressed. You're looking for guidance on that. Am I correct? In the day, all buildings, private streets, parking compounds shall be shown on the land development plan, parking spaces. And the islands and related features shall be clearly shown. Unless I'm wrong, it means you have that.
Funny comment, because, yeah, at the sketch plan stage, clearly the area we show, that's about as representative of the site as you're going to get. However, coming back, like you said, doing a preliminary final plan, we would obviously get survey, which would give you, the detailed, accurate dimensions and features of the site. But as you can see, we're showing what's out there today, and then the only proposed improvement would be that white rectangle representing the expansion of the existing building over that existing pervious area that's just beam or stone.
So would that be an issue to provide that information?
You can do that then.
So you would do it as part of it. So you really don't need any. You're going to do what's required. The driveway and street intersections that we provide. Not quite sure how that applies here, because it's totally paved. There really is no driveway.
Yeah,
Other than the 100, 200 feet on each side, it's paved. Whatever, from the railroad underpass up to your, I guess it's the ammonia tank or what, on the one side and then the other,
Yeah, I was read like a checklist item at the preliminary final plan stage. That we could provide that absolutely.
That item was not one of your waiver requests.
No, we have no problem showing the safe site stopping distance at preliminary plan or final plan.
It's a big multi-part.
Yeah, we recognize first towards the site. Your point, I mean, there's large open areas because of the operations. You have equipment being moved on each side of Greenfield Road.
It's a little clear where the safe stopping distance is before you proceed there. But that's not in the ordinance, so.
We can provide a bridge, we get and deal with the rest.
All existing streets at the perimeter of the property must be improved. And if they are currently.
So we evaluated that, and that's outlined in our modification request that we have in there. Item 3 is to create some existing streets for the south. And then also 4 in our letter. All the street widths. You go into curves, which is number 5, and then sidewalk number 6. Basically, it's the comment number 4 in the MA letter kind of wraps that all in, talking about the required improvements along existing roadways, what the required width of the right pavement and sidewalks. So yeah, we did assess that. We have that outlined in our letter, looking at what the widening would be. In this case, that's why we're requesting the modification. And it really comes down to, again, the scale or scope of this project. Steel's been operating, I think, in excess of 50 years in this location. The expansion to the existing structures, very small amount of fence. But we that the project that proposed would warrant those improvements as part of this particular project.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about Greenfield Road. I don't have any issues with. I'm just curious about Old Philadelphia Pike, a waiver versus a deferral. Of that section along Old Philadelphia Pike.
Sure. Old Philadelphia Pike.
Sidewalks and planting, I'm focusing on.
Up here, the plantings.
Sidewalks and planting, I'm focusing on.
So there is sidewalk all the way along the frontage of Old Philadelphia Pike. There is a grass strip all the way along the frontage of Old Philadelphia Pike. There, as far as curbing goes, there's about a 300-foot section that is not curbing, it's just open into the property. There aren't trees across the whole frontage. But then shifting on, like I said, Greenfield Road, if that's also a question, you said you're not concerned about that. So Old Philadelphia Pike, really the reason we looked at not putting the curbing in along with that 300-foot gap is just for future development, not having to rip that back out depending on what happens there in the future. I don't know that it's instrumental to their daily. But as part of this project, when you look at where that expansion is, it's about 1,200 feet from any existing street.
It's not that I'm asking you to do it, as opposed to a flat out waiver of that requirement, just as we do with most. Defer that in the event there's a future improvement to Old Philadelphia Pike that would allow the township to come back and say, "Hey, we want you to put trees in, we want you to widen the sidewalk." So it's not to do it today, but it's a deferral of that requirement as opposed to an outright waiver of that requirement along Old Philadelphia Pike.
We'd probably be agreeable to a deferral if the commission is inclined. Done. Yeah.
Well, along with following that, on Greenfield, you do have curbing, you do have plantings,
Correct.
but there is no sidewalk.
Correct.
So in the event of hopefully Pike being addressed with planting on sidewalk, it would make sense probably to extend the sidewalk down.
Yeah, I think we need to take a look at what those uses are along Greenfield Road there. So there's a small sidewalk that extends on the east side of Greenfield Road. And curbing, if I remember correctly.
Greenfield's totally curved down to your.
To the entrances.
Entrances to both sides.
But the amount of activity that's going back and forth between these two sites is significant for this operation. And so I am hesitant to put pedestrians through that industrial use. It's a safety concern, in my opinion.
They also have to get under the bridge.
And where do we send them? The bridge is on a good day, we can get 2 cars through it. But not too far. Yes.
I've seen 2 go at the same time in opposite directions. Turn around thinking they're gonna get stuck. Yeah.
So I am,
Well,
it's not a pedestrian friendly area.
and then you do currently have a separate pathway from the parking area down to your property for the employees.
And as far as pedestrian use, I believe there is a sidewalk on the east side. So really the The operations, which is split by Greenfield Road, but it kind of works all together. It's almost like one parcel. You do have the sidewalk on the east side if there was a need to have pedestrians circulate north-south, but I agree 100%. I don't think you want to encourage it towards.
University up on the corner, the sidewalk is.
Is
Is that
You
big?
know, it's actually being now taken over by our transit division. That building, it used to be the old college building.
Okay. Wasn't aware they moved. I think the sign's still there. I didn't realize they moved out, but. Or is that it? 4, 5. And that in the plantings. We're talking about that. Comments from the general public in reference to this one.
Just again, Window High Steel is a company that contributes a lot of money to taxpayers. And I do just want to repeat myself again that we should start considering when we have companies like this that are contributing a large amount to the state tax, to the township tax, that we should pitch in a little bit for sidewalks. Just wanted to make that.
Smile. Okay. The cookie. The. Parking.
Yeah.
They would request and.
The David Miller letter was obviously very helpful, and it's why we're here again tonight for the sketch plan to really find out whether or not the project's feasible to move forward. And moreover, in a case like this, again, it's like a unique project, given the scale of what they'd like to do there. It would be extremely beneficial to have that action so they can have confidence in moving the project forward. You know, we'll be back for a final plan if the project can move forward.
Somebody ready for a motion?
I will move that the planning commission recommend approval to the board of supervisors of the sketch plan submitted by High Industries. High Steel. Plan number 2024-25 for 144 Greenfield Road. To approve the request for waiver of preliminary plan. To approve the request for waiver of existing street requirements, street width requirements, curb requirements, and sidewalk requirements, and planting requirements on a deferred basis until such time as the township may decide that improvements need to be made on particularly Old Philadelphia Pike, and your waiver request for a traffic impact study.
Question, deferral applies only to the plantings or applies to the other waivers as well?
Streets, curbs, sidewalks, and planting.
On Old Philadelphia or one vote, just on Old Philadelphia?
It's part of my motion.
Just on Old Philadelphia.
Yeah, I know that the other side of Greenfield is also in that neighborhood commercial district, but there is a sidewalk and curb on the east side. And again, encouraging additional pedestrians to go down to the west side, probably not.
Second.
I will second it.
And I think as previous, I think, with the understanding you would delineate the additional widths were needed on the plans, so we know what's what. You know, drawing some more lines if necessary, or identifying that the existing roads do meet the current requirements.
So make sure I have that right in my notes. So the, deferring the modification request that we put out there specifically, then what do you mean?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. That was my next one. Simplification. What was deferral, what was waiver? So those 4 items were deferral on Philly and waiver on Greenfield.
Traffic impact.
That would be waived. Any other discussion before we vote? Jansen? Aye. Aye. And aye for me. Thank you. So moved.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. Next item on the agenda is Plan 2024-28, High Associates, Greenfield North Lot 1, revised land development plan.
We work with the two, and Ken Hornbeck is all project as you all here. But we can talk through that certainly. This is, I believe you have seen this plan as part of a briefing item here. And we are here to develop the plans. And hopefully receive a recommendation for final plan approval, revised final plan approval this evening. Essentially, the change to this plan is originally the community center was part of the building 4, residential building 4. Because of the phasing or the staging of construction, it was desired that that community center be built now. Currently, the first 2 buildings are under construction per the original plan. Yes, thank you. Building 1 and building 2. And the desire was to have that community center available to the original, the first tenants. So that community center was moved from this area up into the courtyard through there. And that's what constituted the need for a revised final plan.
No, I think you have a good one. Yeah, I mean, so as Dave says, if we were doing this all at once, there would be no need for the change, but because we made the decision to phase the buildings, you can't deliver 311 units without that amenity. So we pulled it out of the future building, build it today, and then when we're ready to build that future building, it will change some way, but that's not subject to discussion tonight. So we want to make sure the initial residents have that amenity in addition to the.
So that necessitated some changes within the courtyard and et cetera. And that's the nature of the review letter. We had DMA's letter of November 8th. And the letter, there's some items to finish up. Just going through quickly, modifications, they are correct. We are not asking for any more modifications to this plan. Zoning is a clarification on a note. And as well as the lighting. There's no changes with the lighting. As far as, the subdivision land development comments, the plans have been submitted to the sewer authority for review. We're waiting for their comments. And the city has said they have no comments as far as the water goes. Financial security, we can update that. Really, the only change, as noted here, some of the yard drains within the courtyard have changed, and the emergency access path between the two buildings has changed. So we could, very small, minimum, probably won't even make a dollar change, but we'll confirm that with financial security.
To clarify, the emergency access just has shifted.
Yes.
So it is still there, it's still part of the plan.
Right, and that's comment. The original plan for emergency access at the request of the fire companies from the plan north straight through to the parking area through here with the community center. That that emergency access took a detour, if you will, was rerouted. And we do have the approval from the from both Lafayette and fire companies. So they're okay. We provided a cover letter with this submittal that gave a more detailed description of what had changed, what didn't change. And it was include those notes with our that. Stormwater management, next page, we have submitted to the conservation district. They're fully on board. Understand what we're asking for, so that is under review. The second one is just a clarification note. Sort of be basically a change of reference to the plan. Other than those yard drains in the courtyard I talked about, there's really no other changes. But we can certainly do that. But really, it's a will comply. Any questions on that? We also have a letter from the county planning department. Quickly, that is dated November 4th. The first comment is regarding feet numbering. They're suggesting that we combine the ENS and stormwater management plans in the same set. Really, the conservation district prefers separate plans. They don't want to get all these land development plans. So it's at their request that we keep them separate. And that's the way it was reported a year ago. So that's our intent, is to keep it that way. Number two is just updating the signature block, no issues. Landscape buffers, those details were part of the stormwater management plan, and they have actually already been installed. Number four is related to bicycle parking. The apartment buildings have a bicycle storage room within the buildings, so we believe that that's that. And number five, the plan does have a new track. There are no dumpsters within the facility, so the townhomes and the community center will have their own individual trash cans put on trash days. The other building, the apartment buildings, will have the trash wheeled out for collection and then back in. So there are no exterior dumpsters. So there's nothing changed from the original plan. So I'm sorry. You'll address number two. We'll address number two.
Number two.
Signatures.
Yeah, yes, yeah, we'll update with the new number, yeah.
So the planning approval process resulted in the reduction of 20 minutes. I know you said in the future, but is it possible that some of those could be where the community center was at some future point? Or would you not want to go back and have an approval for additional units?
Yeah, we'll either have to modify our planning module if we need additional EDUs, or we'll reduce the size of one of the future building by 20 units.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go through that process. So we have time to make that decision. And those units were reduced on this plan to correspond with the EDUs that we currently have. Just to clarify.
Yeah, with this, you went from 628 to 608.
Yes.
You went down 20 units.
And that was building 3, which is
Yeah.
future building.
Which now,
So, in design.
Always looking to keep that.
yeah. Wasn't sure how you did that, but well, obviously that's the design. The footprints just stay the same. I didn't know if you went from 1 bedroom to 2 bedrooms, made larger units. Each unit appears to be that.
That's one way to do it.
Well, part of, you get these 2 buildings in, you'll find out what the need or demand is, and you may adjust.
Yes.
And meet the market. Now it's under zoning. You mentioned there's no change to the lighting, but the community center is a whole new building. I forget, was the pool the same place it is now?
The pool, yes, the pool is in the same place.
It seems there would be some adjustment to the lighting with the. You said there wasn't any, but.
Yeah, and maybe I glossed over.
A new building in there.
From a zoning perspective, we're not making any changes where the lights would spill over the property, limits, that type of thing. So that there is courtyard changes. Some of the amenities have been adjusted within the courtyard, and so the lighting along the panels and that type of thing has changed accordingly. I believe parking have shifted over a couple of spaces, and so the light is going into that. That's all interior.
Inside. Here's we're ready for a motion.
Okay. Thanks to the Board of Supervisors, the approval of Plan 2024-28 revised land development plan by associates at Greenfield North Lot 1, as identified in DMA's letter of November 8th, 2024. Planning departments review. 2024, particularly related to the appropriate details for, or excuse me, the signature block.
Hearing none. Need for the vote, Jansen? Brandon, aye. Aye, unanimous. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
The next item on the agenda are briefing items, which are indicated none this evening,
That's
and that hasn't changed. And then we have other business.
right. So the fire that you saw in Rockville Parcel 5, the First Church of the Nazarene, and the Country Acres Campground will all be requesting time extensions before the Board of Supervisors, all in varying forms and for varying reasons, but you'll see them in the future here. They're not forgotten. We continue for staff members for the Department of Planning, Director and the Assistant Zoning Officer positions. We're still on the hunt for the right person or people. Okay. And then I have one more thing.
Is there any other?
Yes. This is Daryl's last meeting as a planning commission member, and I want to thank him for his commitment to East Lampeter Township. Decades that he's served on, and I'm not going to say how many decades, but just decades with an S that he's served on the planning commission.
Say I must count fingers and toes. So,
His commitment to detail has served us all well, both in the minutes and on the actual land development and subdivision plans. And I thank you for all your efforts and for the time that you've put into the planning commission and to the residents of East Lampeter Township.
it's been a pleasure to serve and to work with excellent staff that we've had. And I've seen more than a few at the township as we moved and the staff has worked. I feel very comfortable with the 4 remaining members of the planning commission are going to continue the excellent work that I believe the township planning commission has done. But it's truly been an honor and a pleasure to be part of this. And I do take pride in being part of East Lampeter Township. And the small piece that I had a part in is enjoyed and a volunteer for a while. So when I first was asked to do this, I said, I don't want to be paid. And they said, you don't have a choice. You know, so the pay we get, yeah, it's interesting, but it's good. But yeah, and the various committees and other activities I've served on, being here have been rewarding. And I think well, Jason's not here, but he stepped up and he's going to serve and is serving on the committee. And that's very rewarding when you get to work with other members of the township. And I guess in that committee, there's some residents as well as township staff, I believe.
It's actually not yet. We're not at that point yet.
No point there.
Yes.
But, the opinions and a feel for the township, and it's great. Yeah. So enjoy it while you're here. But thank you.
And you get to drive around and see the impact you've had in the township.
Yes, yes, yeah, I do, yeah, so. But yeah, I've been here a while. And it's time. I've got a few years for my age and figured 4 more years would really put me up there.
I'm sure there's a big honey-do list at home.
Oh, there's always been that. But we did some travel, yeah, we've been doing some travel, yeah. We actually just got back from Italy, 2 weeks in Italy, so first time to Italy. That was very enlightening, enjoyable, fun for the monkey. And next week we take off for Newport Beach. So, yeah, in California. So, gonna do some travel
That's great.
while we're still, yeah. Now I don't
all
have
the
to
places
plan,
that
I
are
don't have to
moving
plan it around second Tuesday. Yeah. But, thank you. Thank you for those kind words.
Yeah, Darrell, it's been a pleasure. I haven't served with you very long, but you've always been, things you used to fill as far as attention to detail. And dispose, yeah, unfortunately, I won't have enough, tutelage from you, but, I'll carry on without you.
Well, yeah. It's worth it, yeah.
Well, I'll be honest, I plan on getting involved with politics in around 2030, so I want to start coming to meetings and just getting used to the process. And you guys all made me feel really welcomed, and thank you for recognizing my opinion, and even though I repeated it myself, but it was something that I feel needs to be addressed, and you said thank you, and you were very courteous, so thank you, I really appreciate it for making me feel.
Well, thank you for your interest. Yep. With that said, for the last motion of my time and the meeting, for adjourn.
We adjourn.
Motion that